Hello again, YouTube. Sorry I've been away for a while. I had to resolve some technical issues. I wasn't happy with some of the videos I was making. Long story short, I just couldn't get the camera frame rate to work properly with the camera. It kept missing frames and being stuttery. And then my audio keeps cutting in and out. But now I've managed to get an MST box. So now I've got multiple monitors. My camera works a lot better. Well, this actual better camera works a lot better. This 4K camera. I was using a 2.71 prior. I've managed to get the microphones to work through the MST box as well. So this has resolved many of my issues. But for some reason my Bluetooth earphones will not work and I don't know why. So we're going to have to do the video without them. I'll try to make sure that the audio doesn't interfere with my microphone. But anyway, we'll get straight into this. See what Sargon has to say on this matter. Should be quite interesting. And just to say, I missed some out at the beginning of this video, but he was essentially saying that Sargon wouldn't normally talk about football, but obviously the footballers think they can talk about politics, so it's fair game. You're going to come into our world, we're going to attack what you're saying. I don't mean attack in a violent physical way, I just mean attack as in debunk, rebuke what they are saying. Because Gary is a deluded idiot. He doesn't live in the real world. He hasn't lived in the real world since being a teenager, really. So, but we'll get into it.
So I've just left my house and walking into the office, waking up obviously, seeing the news last night and the news this morning dominated by the horrific attacks within the Jewish community just about a mile from here. And was driving home from Salford City last night. I was driving actually to Salford City, going down a Littleton Road.
So before we go on, just to be clear, he's prefacing this in the wake of the Manchester...
Yeah, I mean, I was going to maybe highlight what he's talking about for non-British viewers or people who aren't paying attention to British politics at the minute. But Sargon's going to cover it, so I'll let him do that.
Synagogue attack where 2 Jewish men were stabbed by a guy called Jihad, and he had rung up the emergency services or something and said, yes, I'm doing this for the Islamic State because I love Islam and I love killing Jews. Right, okay, great. Go on, Gary.
And what I'll just quickly say is I have yet to this day to meet somebody who is Islamic who doesn't hate Jews. And I don't go combating everybody being racist in the street. You know what I mean? Or people I talk to every day. Otherwise I'd be at it all day from everybody. I'd have to be debunking what the black people are saying, debunking what white people are saying, debunking what the Pakistanis are saying, debunking what the Indians are saying. And they all believe cockamamie nonsense stuff, right? So, I mean, there was an occasion where I was working on a building site and they were playing Greatest Hits radio, and Greatest Hits likes to play a lot of disco, and this older gentleman, probably nearing retirement age, referred to it as the N-word music, which, I suppose if you want to be really broad speaking, is correct. It did come from black individuals in America, disco music. But I didn't bother contesting him. What's the point at work? He's going to probably not be on the face of the earth for much longer. I mean, who cares if he's racist, to be honest? When I was growing up, being racist was cringe. You were cringe if you were racist, an actual racist. I mean, not like what we get called just for saying we shouldn't have boats coming across the ocean. I mean, actual proper racists were always just a bit cringe. You know what I mean? Nobody would talk to you. Everybody would talk to you about you behind your back if you were racist. So it's interesting to hear, especially if you don't go around contesting everything that everybody's saying all the time, they'll all open up to you because they'll presume that maybe you're on their side and they'll say really interesting things. And I've heard many Islamic people say the same thing about Jews, that they hate them, they want to do the RAPE word to them. Yeah, I mean, and I personally have no problems with anybody of these faiths. I had a short little relationship with a Jewish woman. I've dated a woman who was, half Pakistani, half Indian, and she now practices her Islamic faith, even though we don't talk anymore. But I am, through her sister, I'm aware that she's happily married and practicing Islam, which is all fine. And with me personally, I don't have an issue what nationality or religion somebody is. But there are lots of people that do, and the Islamic community are one of these communities where they do just harbour hate towards Jews for mostly, I would say, unjust reasons. You know, of course, me mentioning this now is probably going to get a load of people calling me a Zionist bot. I just want to be really clear, and I'm going to look into the camera for this, right? I don't care about either of these two areas, like any of these Arab countries or Israel. For me, they can obliterate each other till neither of them are left. I do not care. I'm not on anybody's side. I want to stay out of it. I want the UK out of it. I don't want to get drawn into it. I don't make videos on Palestine and Israel. Even when I did a reaction video to Hassan Piker, I pretty much just skipped through the entire video and didn't even really respond, because that's his one subject he talks about. But I'll try and get into the video, because I'm already again ranting and we're only 2 minutes in.
Tell us who the real problem is.
Seeing 60, probably 50 or 60 Union Jack flags. And on the way back I went down the parallel road.
Oh dear, Gary, what are you going to do?
Got the Jewish community right at its heart, and they're out on the streets, defiant, not hiding or in fear. And I just kept thinking as I was driving home last night that we're all being turned on each other. And the division that's being created is absolutely disgusting. Mainly created by angry, middle-aged white men.
Okay, well, as an angry middle-aged white man, I find this very interesting. So you'll notice how he's conflating two things here. The first thing is the Islamist attack on the Jewish synagogue.
Oh my days, that's too loud.
That killed 2 Jewish people. And then he's conflating that with the Raise the Colours protests, the angry right-wing white men who are sick of seeing the country given away to foreigners. Increasingly, I mean, this is what Robert Jemrick was commenting on the other day when he went to Birmingham. There are no white faces, there's no English people in the centre of Birmingham. Yeah, there aren't. There are large areas of the country now that have been given over to people from other countries. Now, that doesn't mean that...
Yeah, and I think the better term we should start using is enclaves, to be honest. I mean, that's what I would call them. That's what they'd be called many other times, but because... I don't know, because we don't want to upset people, we don't call them enclaves. But
people from other countries are intrinsically bad or something, right? That's not what anyone is saying, as far as I'm aware. It just means that actually England was for the English, and actually giving it away to an infinite number of foreigners dispossesses us of our patrimony. This dispossesses me and my children and my future generations of what actually we are supposed to pass on to them intact, like our ancestors did for us. Because, I mean, I'm guessing I'm about the same age as Gary, and we grew up in a country that was 95% English. And so that's what the Raise the Colours is about. We're sick of being second-class citizens in a country that is being given away from us. Against our will, by the way. Democratically, we have always chosen the opposite path, and yet here we are.
Yeah, we've completely been betrayed, to be honest. We, you know, and some of you people aren't going to like me saying this, but it's the baby boomers' fault. And not every baby boomer, but definitely the baby boomers who, you know, got into government and, you know, now the CEOs of companies and everything. All of this damage has happened under the boomers' tenure. You know, from the boomers coming into the age where they would be in positions of power in politics and everything. It's just gone woo downhill. That was not really on frame, but and it, you know, they take offence to this, but it is the boomers' fault. You know, they created the world of which millennials complain about. So, you know, Saigon isn't wrong, and I do apologise as well that my frame rate keeps dropping. I'm not sure why. I'll have to get used to this new setup at some point, but yeah, I'll continue anyway.
And so he's conflating these two issues: Islamic extremism and terrorism with the Raise the Colours protest. But in a way, they are kind of connected. So he's actually not wrong to do it, because the fundamental crux of the Raise the Colours protest is a statement of sovereignty of the English people over England and the other British peoples over the other constituent nations of the country. But it's most pronounced in England because England is where the problem is greatest. And it's a statement against multiculturalism, as in, we knew this would be problematic. We knew there would be issues between communities, and actually you can't just bring in all of the world's...
Yeah, I mean, for a start, like, we're taking in lots of immigrants from Pakistan and India, and I'm sure everybody in the world knows that they don't like each other, right? It'd be like if we imported, like, lots of Thais and Cambodians. they don't like each other. And I'll maybe just get on a little rant here. It's not so much related to this, but I find it weird that white Westerners don't understand that these ethnic groups don't like each other. I've seen the post come up twice, and it's the most disliked countries. Obviously, the UK had to be on there, like 12th or something. Israel was like 5th. USA was 2nd. The big C was number 1, right? But there was Japan on the list, and there was the Philippines on the list. And on 2 different occasions, I've had conversations with people. One was saying, "Why is Japan on the list? Who would hate Japan?" And that is obviously looking at it from a Western point of view. I mean, I have no problem with Japan. I like Japan. I wouldn't call myself a weeb, but I like Japan. I've always been interested in Japanese culture, Japanese history, Japanese art, all that kind of thing. And yeah, these sort of weeb types, because they love Japan, they can't fathom that like other countries like South Korea, China, Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam don't like the Japanese. You know what I mean? And they're like, and to us Westerners, it is a bit petty. You know what I mean? Like they still don't like them for what they did in the Second World War, which is 80 or so years ago now. You know, and like Westerners are then telling me why they're trying to argue with me why Japanese people are disliked by other nationalities, and I'm like, dude, I'm not these nationalities that dislike the Japanese. I'm educating you on the sort of geopolitical situation of why some ethnic groups are viewed negatively by other ethnic groups. I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm saying I understand this. And he got aggressive with me online, trying to presume that I was talking down about Japan, and I wasn't. Same with the Philippines. This has happened today. We were saying, why would somebody hate the Philippines? He's got a Filipino wife. He goes on holiday to the Philippines. I'm like, dude, of course they're going to be nice to you. You're a tourist in their country. Get a grip. We'll talk to the other nationalities in the surrounding area, and you'll find that very many of them have negative things to say about the Filipinos. And like any Filipinos that are watching this, because obviously I do aim my channel a bit at Filipinos, right? I don't dislike Filipinos. My channel is called Adam the Afam. But I'm aware of the banter in Asia about what the Indonesians say about you guys, what the Vietnamese say, what the Chinese say. I'm very aware. I've talked to people from these cultures, right? And like, do I agree with everything they say? No. But likewise, on the flip side of the scale, I was informing him that in Singapore, they have signs on the trains telling Filipinos to be quiet in Tagalog, in their own language. Not in any other language, not in English, so everybody understands it. In Tagalog, they have signs telling Filipinos to be quiet. And, you know, is it such a big issue? No. But there seems to be this white middle class thing where they think that everybody's just getting along and just white people are the ones causing the issues. Whereas if you look at history, man, it is completely the opposite way around. All these other ethnic groups are always fighting with each other. Whites were obviously fighting with each other. England and France have a long storied history of fighting each other. England and Spain. I mean, you could argue maybe Germany, but Germany didn't really exist until like sort of just after the Napoleonic War sort of period. Not that educated on exact dates with German history, but you know, we all sort of get along mostly now, but there was a big long period of time where we didn't. And during the colonial period is when Britain really did get the other European countries in line, and we managed to improve the world. We managed to collectively get rid of slavery from the entire world through our colonies. Had that not occurred, slavery would still be normal now. It would still be normative. So these middle class socialists, like they look at history like this. Sorry, I'm getting confused which way the camera is. Yeah, they're like they've just got one eye open. They can only see one half of the equation. They can't see the other half of the equation. But I'll try and continue the video because this is already getting quite long, and I haven't let Sargon talk much.
People and expect them to just play nice. And even if you could, why would you need to? Why are we doing this? This is our country. They have countries of their own. Like, we would literally have to go to their countries and bring them from there, where they have their own states, their own governments, their own legal systems, their own cultures, mass cultures that are for themselves, so they can feel comfortable and like they belong in a place. And that's all I want for me and my children and my descendants. That's all I want, is for a country that acts in the same way their countries worked for them, that acts for us in that same way, so we can feel safe and comfortable and familiar in our own countries. And so they while Gary is actually conflating two things that appear to be separate, there is a connection here, and there is the same issue. And so he's actually not wrong to say, oh right, the angry middle-aged white men who are observing this accurately and pointing out that, hang on a second, This is essentially creating a rod for our own back, an irreconcilable difference, an irreconcilable problem that we can only solve by essentially asking a lot of the foreigners to go home, to make sure that we understand that England is our place and not theirs. And if there are foreigners here, and I'm not saying that we have to kick out every single foreigner on earth.
This is one of the really annoying things as well. Like, let's say when I compare Britain to the Philippines, right? The Filipinos would not be having this. They would not be having foreigners coming to their country telling them what to do. Now, if I came to the Philippines and behaved how these foreigners do in my country, I would be back on a plane, back out, pretty sharp, in the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, people come round to my apartment with weapons. You know what I mean? Like, why are we having to tolerate this just because we had a colonial past? You know what I mean? Things that happened hundreds of years ago, outside my living period of time. My grandfather wasn't involved in this. My great-grandfather wasn't involved in any of this. And like I said, in the colonial period, wasn't all negative anyway. Shut up. Yeah, but for some reason, as whites, we have to like accept it in Europe. We're like, oh yeah, all the poor people want to come to your country, and because like X, Y, Z happened hundreds of years ago, you've just got to suck up and deal with it. Like, no, these are our countries. We gave you your countries back. That doesn't mean you get to come and try and take ours when these slave masters are gone and dead. You know what I mean? Well, because you will never win. In the United Kingdom, there will always be one sovereign people, and that's us, the British, the English, the Scottish, the Welsh. If you really want to include the Cornish. And Northern Irish. And no offence to Cornish people, I have Cornish ancestry, but, you know, it's not a country, is it? You know what I mean? It's barely a nation, if we're honest. But yeah, these sort of like ethnic groups are what will always govern the United Kingdom. Nobody else will ever take it from us. So if you're a foreigner watching this and you think you're going to actually take it from the British, you are sadly mistaken, and you do not know what you are about to unfurl onto yourselves with this. Because we are playing nice at the minute. If we colonize the world for a laugh, you know, that was like a pastime. Imagine what happens when we get really annoyed. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think what Mr. Mustache Man did in Germany will be a fraction of what occurs should this continue in this method. And for the 500th time, I don't want civil war, but you keep like introducing new people that aren't going to assimilate in. It's the only thing that's going to happen. You're going to get a balkanization of the country, and hopefully that doesn't occur. We'll have to see what happens.
Something, or in England. I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm saying is we have to be cognizant that we should remain the overwhelming demographic majority of the country. For example, I think it's undesirable for England to be fewer than or less than 90% English. There's no reason we would ever want that, right? There's no reason to consent to that. And a bunch of the people who have come here to take advantage of us, our welfare state, what was our prosperity, you know, that's slipping through our fingers now, isn't it? Those people actually don't have to be here. They actually can go somewhere else. And we probably should just be clear. Look, we don't hate anyone, but we've had enough, right? We've had enough of all this. And that's what the flags are about. That's why 1 million people...
I mean, just imagine it's a business, right? Imagine you work for like Amazon, Every, I don't know, Staples, you know, for Americans, Target, Walmart, and they take on lots of staff, and then they've got too many staff, so there's not enough hours to go around for everybody, right? But then, you can't get rid of anybody, can't fire anybody. That's can't downsize. That's racist. You know, like, the economics don't care whether it's racist or not. The arrow will still go down. Line graph will still go down. And that is what's going to keep happening the more we keep accepting more foreigners into the country. It's not going to go up. I mean, if you look after the Black Death, what happened in England, we managed to get lots of rights that we didn't previously have because labour was scarce. And labour is abundant, which is good for the companies, but it's not good for us. So I'm sorry. You know, multi-corp, multinational conglomerations, you can go get, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to keep accepting people into our country just so you get more money into your wallet every quarter. Scum. Absolute scum.
People turned out in the streets for Tommy the other day. We've just had enough. And those people who are foreign, who are our friends and who have been here for generations, that's fine. They can stay. But millions of people who aren't our friends are here. Millions of people who haven't been here for generations are here. And actually, we don't need those people.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would just say, like, you know, cut off. If you've been here over 10 years and you've you can obviously see that you've tried to integrate and stuff, etc., then, you know, you probably stay. But if it's less than 10 years, then we have to be much more critical about it. You know what I mean? Especially in the last 5 years, since the Boris wave, just get rid, man. Just get rid of the Boris wave. Reverse all that. Because a lot of these people I've seen coming into this country are not, they're not doing things as we would like. Like, say, when you go for a bus, they all push in the queue and they're all rabble-rousing and everything. That's not what we do in Britain. We queue up. You get in a line, in a queue, and you queue to get on the bus. And you don't jump in front of somebody else, otherwise there's bother. And it's only ever happened to me once, and I did tell them off. And I did say, we don't do that in England. And they did apologise. Whether they did it again, I don't know, because I stopped working there. But I've seen many videos of this occurring as well. And there's a lot more than just jumping in front of people in queues before some leftist starts going in there, oh, is that all you care about? There's obviously many things. And I could talk about my current employer, about what the sort of these undesirables have been doing within the company and how it works so much worse. But I don't want a letter from a solicitor, cease and desist, so I'll not name my employer. I mean, and just to be clear, I don't really care about my job, you know what I mean? Like, I'm only doing it while this YouTube thing works out for me, and sack them off as soon as possible.
People stay. Those people who are born overseas, don't care about this country at all, and just came to take advantage and send remittances home, actually, we don't need them funneling wealth out of the country, making the country more overcrowded, making the place more dangerous, not integrating, as Robert Jemrick pointed out. We actually don't need those people. And they're here to kind of take advantage, really, and I don't like that. And so I would prefer it if those people just went home, as they have homes to go to, so we can begin the process of essentially rebuilding the country and recentering the native British people as the people for whom the country is actually for. And that fundamentally is the underlying demand of the angry middle-aged white men, because they need it for their families. We need it for our wives and children to make sure that they have a future that is worth having, like we had when we were young. And actually, Gary, it's us all dropping the ball and allowing this all to happen, then being like, okay, no, oh no, Gary Neville, defender of the minorities. No, shut up, Gary. You're a fucking footballer. Like, your opinion on moral philosophy or the future of the country is actually not terribly relevant to anyone, which is why you've pissed everyone off, because you decided that you were going to be like, oh, I'm going to save the minorities, and you stuck your foot in it. But the thing is, Gary, they're the majority, actually. They're the majority everywhere else on Earth. It's just that you are actually much more parochial than you realise when you say, oh, they are minorities. No, they are majorities in their home countries. Like,
yeah, I mean, if anything, we're the minority. Like, not within our own country, obviously, but I think something like the global population of white people in like 200 years ago was like 36%, something like that. It was 30-something percent. Now it's like 8.9%. You know what I mean? We're the minority, not the Asians and the Africans and anybody else, the Arabs. You know, not these people. We are the rare type, and this is why we need to keep our kingdoms and, you know, European countries safe, out of the hands of these heathens, essentially. And no, I'm not saying all Asians and Africans are heathens, but the types that we're getting coming across at the minute definitely are. They're not doing things for... They're not coming to England because they love England. They're coming to England for an easy ride. You know, it's not the same thing. Immigration that came here years and years ago loved England. They wanted to become British. They wanted it to stay how it is, not what it's becoming, which is why you've seen many of them join, quote-unquote, our side.
oh, the Nigerians have come over. There are 220 million Nigerians, Gary, and 44 million English. What about the Pakistanis? There are 200 plus million Pakistanis. And 44... There are more Pakistanis in this country than there are Welshmen on the earth, Gary. There are about 3 million Welshmen and about 4 or 5 million Pakistanis in this country. Like, it is mental how you think that we are somehow this demographic powerhouse, when actually everything would say the opposite. Anyway, I'm going to let him carry on, because I realise I've been ranting for a bit now. But like this just really... It is a position of profound ignorance.
Yeah, because I've rambled for so long, I'll leave this video here. I'll put Sargon's clip in the description. You can watch it in your own time, and I'll give him a like and a subscribe on his channel. But you know, I kind of rambled a bit longer than I thought I would. Maybe it's because I haven't made a video in such a long time. The quality is still not great now. The video is jittering, even though I'm not jittering. is very aggravating. You know, we keep on keeping on, as we say, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Thank you for watching this if you watched it to the end. And I'll do better in the next video. See you later.